Before we move on, let's recap what we've learned so far, even though we're still missing
Ah, that's much better. This was the first video I made using my new microphone setup. It was actually the same microphone, I was just using a terrible port on my laptop before. Back then, the way I used to do it was, I would usually record commentary while I was playing, and then I just edited parts of the commentary I felt I could improve. But starting with this video onward, everything is post-commentary. I only record my voice after the gameplay has been set. It's much easier to concentrate on playing, as well as talking, when I'm not trying to do both at once. The challenge that comes with it, though, is everything in my gameplay videos has to be timed just right. A lot of times when I'm playing, I end up guessing how long my commentary on each thing is going to be before I move on to the next thing. Then later, I have to fit the commentary into the time blocks I created when recording the gameplay. Now, these speeches right here in the observatory were done a little differently. Here, I did go ahead and script and record the speech first, before recording the gameplay. Obviously, it's a lot easier in this case, because once I know how long the speech is, I can just record myself staring at the ceiling like this for that amount of time before moving on. Speaking of which, this video, part 7, was indeed its own new recording session after I finished part 6. Well, okay, that's obvious because I changed my entire means of voice input. But other than that one minor adjustment, all the videos in this series were edited quite cleverly so that they appear to play continuously straight through. That is, I could combine all the videos into a single movie, and it would genuinely look like I never took a break. Other than to change my microphone setup instantaneously, of course.
This one had a red light.
I felt it was appropriate to remind the viewer which projectors showed which colors. Even though the colors are significant for each age, the projectors only clearly show their colors once. And another thing you might be wondering is, why did I cover the ages in the order that I did? Well, I didn't actually have that profound of a reason for it. I really just liked Amateria the most and Idana the least. So saving the best for last kept me inspired when looking at what was left. Though it did have some interesting consequences when it came to the order the journal pages were being picked up. Most importantly, it affected how I handled these speeches right here in the observatory. I wanted to unveil the storyline at about the same rate as the journal pages, because it's kind of hard to figure it out just going by reading the journal pages out of order alone. So I scripted all 4 observatory speeches at the same time. That way they paint a comprehensive picture.
There are 3 lesson ages, 3 telescopes, and 3 tusks around the island.
When working on a puzzle like this, it's easy to just say, well, there's a symbol over here, and there's a symbol over there, so we're supposed to match them up for some reason. It's the natural thing to do when you're solving the puzzles for the first time anyway. And I guess in a sense I did do that, but I felt it was important to first establish the significance of what we were doing. Sure, on the one hand it was a fairly easy puzzle, but on the other hand it's the one puzzle that's common to all 3 lesson ages. However, at the same time I couldn't explain it in that much detail because I don't want to explain anything that we have not actually observed yet in the game. So it's kind of a careful balance to achieve there. And I'm taking my sweet time getting those beads aligned perfectly. It's kind of a risky move when you're still under an 11-minute time limit.
The trick for the focus is to look at the clarity of
11-minute time limit. Sounds like a tongue twister, except it isn't.
There we go, that's pretty. But
now this is my solution. Like I just said in the video, I look at the lines and edges to get the clearest picture. However, the strategy guide shows that focus bead where it was before I adjusted it, 1 position counterclockwise. Fortunately, there is some flexibility when inputting your answer.
Oh, what does this switch do?
This elevator shaft reminds me of the times I played this game with my sister. we kind of had this thing going where we would pick on each other if one of us forgot to close the door behind us before trying to open the door in front of us.
What now?
Because it makes the camera do this funny thing where it goes back and forth like that.
Okay, we don't want to let the air conditioning out.
Now, over time, I caught on and I would remember to turn around and close that door. But she seemed to never remember at all, even if we were just talking about it a minute before. But I guess now that I think about it, maybe she was doing that for comedic effect. As you can see, I'm racing across Jananin because I'm in a bit of a hurry.
And there's the
What you
symbol.
can't see is that I'm
So,
glancing
if
at
we
a
look back
stopwatch
at the
from time to
observatory,
time.
Yeah, there you can see the lens to the telescope.
Gone are the days
So,
of
let's
dividing
refresh real
episode
quick on
content
what's
based
over
on
here.
time limit.
There
Thank
are
goodness.
some weird pink fruits in that bush.
Come to
as
think
well
of
as
it,
this organic
I remember now that I
amplifier
actually
that
wanted the
looks out over
observatory
the lagoon.
speech to be placed in part 6. There just wasn't enough
I
time.
think there's a path down
Would have
there
made
that
more
we
sense
haven't
coming
even
immediately
explored
after
yet.
Savidro's speech, right?
Yeah, you can see that little tent over there. Haven't seen that before.
During my initial tour around Jananin, I intentionally avoided certain places because I didn't want to solve any puzzles yet. I didn't
it's a
have to
little
do this
sweet.
when I covered Real Myst. In that game, the tower reveals the first
Why is my
solution to each
hand
set of puzzles, so I couldn't solve anything at the beginning anyway. But
Does that
here, the
affect this
tower code
somehow?
gives the last solution to each set. So during my first runaround, I had to come up with other excuses not to solve the earlier
Makes
puzzles,
a little bridge for him.
such as,
And he's hungry,
I don't
too.
feel like
I
messing
guess
with
it's been
this
a while
yet,
since anyone
and
solved the
I didn't
plant
notice
bridge
that
puzzle.
before. Now, right there, you could hear the end of a music clip that I'm
First,
personally
the
quite
sweet
fond
little
of.
dripping sound, then
It's
the
one of
plant
those
opens up
short
for him.
clips that plays
That
only at
plant looks a
random
lot like the one
times.
at the top of the cliff near the tusk.
Unfortunately, that right there was
So
the
he
only
seems
time it
useful.
presents
Let's
itself
grab
in
him.
my whole video series, so you never really
Or
get to
maybe
hear it
we
very
don't need
well.
to do that. After all, the plant responds to his voice.
Oh, and by
Remember, there's a
contrast,
device
other
up there that
random sounds
amplifies
sometimes
sounds.
get in the way.
So perhaps if we aim it at
I
the
remember at
squee,
some point
then
during
the
this
plants up
part,
there
it
might
also
respond to
played.
him as well. So is this the same squee that Atris used? If so,
Right as
he's
the
a lot
squee
older
ran
than
out or
God.
something, and it was really quite distracting. I guess it would have been funny if I had left it in there, but I'm still glad I edited it
Oh
out.
God, no.
It was hard enough just to quickly focus on this puzzle and solve it, given the time constraint.
That is both awesome and hilarious.
It's also hilarious that I over-enunciated that part. I guess I wasn't used to the new mic setup yet.
And now the expanded plants form
Another
a bridge
drawback
over
with the
to
old method
tusk
was that
floor.
sometimes I kinda had to shout so that my voice would get
So,
picked up.
Yeah, hopefully that little squee will
But
never,
that may
ever
have been
get
due
full
to
or
me
bored.
placing the microphone next to my chin. And I want to say that there was another game audio edit right here, which is kind of strange because I think there were only like 3 the entire video series.
And the tusk is all green inside. That seems appropriate enough. But other than that,
This is,
it's
of
rather
course,
plain.
somewhat of a hurried panorama of the Tusk. I'm pretty sure there was at least
But
one
there's a
run
cage up
where
here.
I went over the time limit just
We're not
because I
quite
took
tall
too
enough,
long right
though.
here.
And what is this? We have 4 beads.
Those of you that were
rotate
following
on
this video
concentric
series as
circular
I was
tracks.
creating it may remember that
some
I
kind of
uploaded
secret
this
code.
particular video several
I did
times.
see something like this recently,
After
but it was
uploading the
very
first
subtle.
6 on a regular
We saw
weekly
this
basis
on the
with
console
no
in the
hitches whatsoever,
observatory.
I
those
discovered,
beads
to
that
my
circle around
horror,
the view
that the
screen?
top and
They
bottom
were
parts
spinning
of this
around
video
while we
were
adjusting the
mysteriously
telescope.
cropping off.
One bead
I
represents
finally
the
figured out
horizontal
that this
position
was
of the
due to
telescope.
YouTube's brilliant
Then there's one for the
automatic
vertical
letterbox
position,
search and
another for the
destroy
zoom, and the
program.
last one for the focus.
It ended
So
up
when we
cutting off
adjusted the
more than
symbol
just
on the
black though,
telescope to overlap
because
with
without the
on
black,
tusk,
this isn't a
beads
standard
then revealed the
resolution.
code to this device.
And as far as I
Now,
know,
have to do this
YouTube
from
still does
memory
this
since
crap.
I can't see that
I just
screenshot.
work around it now by adding small pillar boxes on the side. I always think of this when I see this green circle. It's what I used for my test videos when I was still trying to find a workaround. Some of my ideas ended up ruining the aspect ratio, so it showed up pretty well on the circle. And look, it's one of the Lesson Age books. It has that same symbol on it, and leads to the age Idana. Of course, I can't reveal the name of a Lesson Age before the game does, so this was the first time I mentioned it. So that's it for this video. I'm gonna let that nice music clip play us out.